Imagine a beautiful night when the only sound is the gentle rustle of wings. The owl, a quiet nighttime predator, is out hunting. But what happens if this evil ruler runs across a rival who is just as vicious, if not lethal? This is a struggle for pride, territory, and survival, not just a fight of wings and talons. Let's explore the harsh moments of owls being caught off guard. Here's what happens when relentless owls attack the opponent. How owls attack their opponent. Owls ambush their prey by using their unique physical characteristics, such as their strong talons, quiet wings, and superior night vision. They usually glide silently down or leap from a perch, aiming straight for their victim. Their curved claws pierce their victim as they strike, their talons gripping with considerable pressure. Owls may also shred flesh with their hooked beak. They may use these similar assault strategies against possible adversaries if they feel endangered, defending their area with unanticipated vigor. Owls have a reputation for fiercely protecting their young and territory. Owls are thought of being invincible hunters since they are fierce, quiet, and cunning. However, occasionally they come into a rival that is just as ready, or maybe even more, to hold its own. These assaults don't always turn out the way the owl had hoped, whether it's against shrewd eagles, crafty crows, or even people protecting their territory. However, even top predators make errors, and occasionally an owl's poor decision results in a terrifying confrontation with the wrong opponent. Here are some high-stakes confrontations when survival was at stake. It's not simply another night in the life of a predator. Owl attacks fearless rabbit. In this video, we see a surprising encounter between a rabbit and a snowy owl. Typically, small animals run away when faced with such a strong predator, but this rabbit has a different approach. Instead of fleeing, the rabbit stands its ground, almost like it's challenging the owl. It seems to be saying, "Come at me," or "Make my day." It's an unusual sight because, let's be honest, rabbits aren't known for picking fights with birds of prey. Snowy owls are skilled hunters and usually hunt by staying hidden and waiting for the perfect moment to pounce. Their powerful hearing and sharp vision make them excellent at tracking prey, and they can swoop in without warning. When they strike, they use their sharp talons, which are very strong. Snowy owls' talons have a gripping force over 500 pounds per square inch, more than enough to catch and kill prey quickly. Plus, they can carry animals that are more than 3 times their weight. This shows how strong and serious an owl attack can be. So, why would a rabbit act like this? One guess is that the rabbit might be protecting its family, who could be hiding nearby. By standing up to the owl, it might be trying to lead the predator away from its young. Another idea is that maybe this rabbit has a bold personality, one that's not afraid of a little danger. It could the Tom Cruise of the rabbit world, up for a challenge and unbothered by the fact that it's facing a deadly predator. The owl, on the other hand, isn't likely to be intimidated. It's used to catching and eating animals like rabbits, lemmings, and other small creatures. With its powerful claws and hunting skills, the owl is more than capable of handling a rabbit. This kind of stare down might look funny or even brave, but it doesn't change the fact that the owl is built for the hunt. Watching this scene is interesting because it goes against what we usually expect. A rabbit, small and generally vulnerable, is acting like it's the boss here. But nature has its rules, and while bravery is admirable, it doesn't always change the outcome. The owl's strength, patience, and hunting skills are a reminder of how the food chain works. Even though the rabbit is standing firm, it's not likely to win this fight. This encounter between predator and prey is fascinating to watch. Snowy owl versus peregrine falcon. It's one thing to kill prey like rabbits, but what happens when an owl encounters a rival that is as skilled in the air? Let's raise the stakes. On an early December day at Stone Harbor Beach, a snowy owl rested peacefully on the sands, appearing slightly tense. Nearby, a pair of adult peregrine falcons observed it with sharp, unwavering eyes. Peregrines are known for their territorial nature, and this snowy owl had unknowingly entered their turf. The male falcon suddenly launched itself, flying just above the ground, closing in on the owl with intense, shrill cries. Although it avoided direct contact, the falcon's aggressive approach signaled that the owl was not welcome. The snowy owl, sensing the threat, raised its wings and twisted to meet each of the falcon's dives head-on, trying to defend its ground without escalating the conflict. The falcon's repeated swoops and vocal warnings made it clear that this beach belonged to it. After a relentless series of passes, the falcon finally flew off to search for prey over the mudflats. But the owl had already made up its mind. It decided to leave for a quieter spot along the Jersey shore. The following day, another snowy owl took up a similar perch on the same stretch of beach, but the falcons hadn't forgotten their territory. This time, both the male and female peregrines took to the skies, attacking the new owl with even more determination. They swooped low over the sand, diving at the owl with precision and force, creating a scene that forced the owl to abandon its perch entirely. Pushed to the edge, the owl retreated to the marshlands across the inlet, finding a safer, more secluded spot away from the falcon's domain. The encounter highlighted the intense territorial behavior of peregrine falcons, who will defend their space against even a larger bird like the snowy owl. Snowy owls, typically solitary and reserved, rarely seek conflict but are quick to defend when necessary. The falcon's unified front and aggressive tactics underscored their fierce loyalty to their turf, showing that even the calmest scenes can hide fierce natural battles. The owl's silent retreat to a quieter location marked the end of an unspoken exchange, a reminder of the unseen rules that govern the wild. The battle of owl versus snake. What happens when the owl's next opponent is no longer another bird, but a creature that slithers on the ground, equipped with venom, stealth, and the instinct to strike? Get ready for a clash unlike any other as we dive into the face-off between an owl and a snake. In this video, unaware that a watchful owl was watching it every step of the way, this ravenous snake bolted from its nest. An owl watches a snake move across an open field, unaware of the predator's keen eyes on it from a nearby limb. The snake keeps moving forward, swerving between thick grass and boulders, stopping sometimes to sniff the air for warning signs. But the owl remains silent, calculating every movement, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The hungry owl carefully prepares for an assault by laying out a detailed plan. The snake senses danger and coils into a striking stance, ready to protect itself as the owl swoops in with a piercing screech. Finally, with the snake fully exposed in an open patch, the owl spread its wings and descended silently. A ghost in the darkness, the owl takes advantage of the situation and attacks with ninja-like speed and accuracy. The two enemies engage in a bloody conflict in which they both strive desperately to survive. God alone is aware of the winner. The stakes are higher, and the situation becomes more challenging in hand-to-hand fighting. Their struggle intensified, predator and prey locked in a deadly standoff, each determined to emerge the victor. When this owl tried to tame a snake, it ended itself in a dangerous scenario. The snake, who up until that point believed it was unbeatable, is unable to protect itself and soon discovers who is truly deadly as the owl gradually drives its claws into the adversary. The owl took its prize and fled, leaving behind just the memory of a bloody struggle under the starry sky, and the woodland grew silent again. Cat teaches vicious owl a lesson. In this bizarre yet incredible clip, a cat proved its dominance against a vicious owl. The clever bird circled around and marked its target, a little house cat just chilling on the porch chair, enjoying a slow evening. Unfortunately, the owl had to ruin the peaceful evening by whizzing towards the cat in an attempt to overpower it. The feline, however, was not in the mood to be messed around with. In a swift motion, it grabbed the owl before it could do any damage, and the two creatures ended up in battle of slaps. The owl must have found out the true meaning of a cat fight as it got mauled. In an attempt to save itself, the defeated owl crawled underneath the chair and waited for its opponent to walk away. But the cat was intent on teaching its attacker a life lesson, so it glared at the retreated owl for a few seconds before walking away and leaving its injured opponent to fend for itself. Great horned owl. It's a quiet, cool evening, and the great horned owl is ready to shine. He's one of the biggest, strongest owl species in America, built for the night shift. Perched high, He scans the clearing below with eyes specially tuned for the dark. But as powerful as his sight is, his hearing is the real game changer. Those horns on his head, just feather tufts. They don't help him hear at all, but they sure make him look serious. His true ears are hidden beneath feathers, and they're slightly off-center. One ear sits a little higher than the other. This unique ear arrangement is a smart design, allowing the owl to hear in 3 dimensions. It's like surround sound for the owl, helping him locate exactly where a noise is coming from, down to the smallest detail. Tonight, that detail happens to be a faint rustle, the source, a deer mouse, another creature of the night, rummaging for bugs and seeds among the leaves. The owl's hearing kicks in, and with a quick head turn, he's dialed in on his target. He can swivel his head 270 degrees, a superpower that most of us could only dream of. His ears tell his light-sensitive eyes exactly where to focus. It's like his senses are having a perfect conversation, each backing up the other. Now, for the grand finale, the silent flight. The great horned owl's wing feathers have fringed edges, which muffle any noise from flapping. This stealth mode gives him a double advantage. He can still hear his prey while he's in motion, and the mouse, blissfully unaware, doesn't have a clue what's coming. One second he's searching for a midnight snack, and the next, the owl has swooped down, quiet as a whisper, to grab his meal. Hunting and eating are what keep this owl busy every night. With his finely tuned hearing, impressive eyesight, and silent wings, the great horned owl is a true master of nighttime hunting. He's efficient, silent, and a bit mysterious, just doing what it takes to stay fed in the wild. After all, in the owl world, every night brings another chance for dinner, and he's perfectly equipped to get it. Barn owl attacked by Kestrel. Let's now focus on a different kind of owl, which is distinguished by its ethereal agility and quiet. But in this next scene, it's not the hunter, it's the hunted. A lone barn owl sat quietly, minding his own business. But then, a kestrel spotted him. Kestrels are fast and feisty, and this one decided to pick a fight. Swooping down, the kestrel attacked the barn owl. The owl, though usually calm, had to defend himself. He was alone, out in the open, with nowhere to hide. It was a tough spot, and he had to gather all his energy just to dodge the kestrel's strikes. The kestrel was quick and kept diving at the owl with sharp claws, giving him no time to rest. The barn owl was getting tired, but he didn't give up. He flapped hard and finally managed to slip away from the kestrel's attacks. He flew straight to his house, where he knew he'd be safe. But he wasn't alone there. His mate was waiting inside, probably wondering what all the fuss was about. The barn owl thought he'd finally get a break, but the kestrel had other plans. It followed him, thinking it had an easy victory coming up. After all, the kestrel believed the barn owl had no chance now, trapped inside with no way out. Little did the kestrel know, the barn owl wasn't alone anymore. He had backup. As the kestrel swooped inside, both barn owls sprang into action. The mate joined the fight without a second thought. Together, they caught the kestrel off guard. It was a complete surprise attack, and the kestrel had no idea what hit him. The barn owls didn't waste a moment. They each grabbed hold, pinning the kestrel down. One owl held his wings, while the other got him in a headlock, leaving the kestrel no room to escape. The kestrel, who'd been so confident a minute ago, was now stuck and totally outmatched. He wriggled and struggled, but the barn owls had him firmly in their grip. This time, the odds had shifted. The barn owls had each other's backs, showing that teamwork can make a big difference, even in a tough situation. After holding the kestrel down for a bit, the barn owls eventually let him go. They weren't looking for a big fight. They just wanted to keep their home safe. The kestrel quickly flew out, learning that this pair of barn owls was not to be messed with. He'd thought he was in charge, but he flew off, probably looking for a place where he wouldn't have to face two determined owls. For the barn owls, it was a victory. They defended their space and showed the kestrel that sometimes sticking together is the best way to handle a challenge. And as for the kestrel, he likely learned that not every solo owl is an easy target, especially when there's a partner ready to jump in. Owls attacks kestrel nest. Kestrels have proven It's not a good idea to mess around with them, so predators need to be super vigilant, especially when encountering their nests. But what happens when a pair of foolhardy barn owls attack a kestrel nest? Let's find out. In this video, we witness a dramatic battle between two bird species, a kestrel and a barn owl, fighting over the same nest. Both species chose the same nest box, creating a tense situation that unfolded throughout the day and night. At first, things were relatively peaceful during the day, but as night set in, the barn owl grew aggressive. The barn owl began to attack the kestrel, disrupting the kestrel's efforts to incubate its eggs. Early on, the kestrel manages to lay a few eggs, trying to secure a future for its chicks. However, the barn owl is a powerful bird and seems determined to take over the nest box. It attacks several times, showing no mercy. Each night, as darkness sets in, the owl returns, aggressively pushing the kestrel out. The kestrel fights back, trying to protect its nest and eggs. But the barn owl's persistence is clear, and the kestrel's job of defending its eggs becomes harder. At one point, things escalate even further. The kestrel is forced to face not one, but two barn owls. The barn owl pair is relentless, coming in strong and overwhelming the kestrel with repeated attacks. This is a life and death battle, and the kestrel barely manages to survive. The struggles are intense as the kestrel dodges the barn owl's strikes, barely escaping harm. It's clear that this kestrel is resilient and determined to protect its nest, but the barn owls aren't backing down either. As time passes, the kestrel begins to lose hope. After a month of constant fighting, stress, and the loss of 4 eggs, the kestrel finally stops incubating its eggs. This long struggle seems to have worn it down. The barn owl's aggressive actions have disrupted the kestrel's nesting season, forcing it to abandon the nest and its remaining eggs. It's a sad ending for the kestrel, who fought so bravely to protect its young. This fight over territory, food, and survival between these two wild bird species is intense and reveals the challenges that animals face in the wild. The video captures a unique, raw look into the daily life and struggles of wild birds. The barn owl and kestrel both need the nest box for survival, and neither is willing to give it up easily. Watching their interactions shows the competitive nature of the animal kingdom, where every species fights for survival. The barn owl's strength and persistence ultimately win the nest box, but it's a harsh reminder of how tough life can be for animals, even when they're simply trying to find a safe space to raise their young. In a drastic turn of events, the situation was reversed, and this time, an owl had to protect its home and children from a ruthless attacker. In this video, we follow Luna, a tawny owl, as she broods over 4 eggs in her nest. Things are peaceful until a young male kestrel named Jeff decides to make an unexpected visit. He's just 10 months old, and it's likely his first experience challenging a bigger bird like Luna. He hops to the entrance of her nest, perhaps curious or even a bit bold, but Luna is no lightweight. As soon as he enters, she turns, making it clear he's not welcome, and Jeff quickly exits, likely a bit shaken. You'd think Jeff would have learned to steer clear of Luna's nest, but the young kestrel returns later that same day. Luna, busy checking her eggs, doesn't immediately notice him, but as he steps into the nest again, Luna's motherly instincts kick in. She turns and lashes out with her powerful talons, defending her eggs fiercely. In the scuffle, Jeff finds himself pinned beneath Luna's wings. It's tough to see what's happening from outside, but it's clear that Jeff is struggling. After some effort, he manages to break free and escape. Luna, victorious, lets out a call, likely making her presence and strength known. After the encounter, Luna checks her eggs, and thankfully, they're unharmed. Meanwhile, Jeff isn't seen again until the next day. He's got a bit of blood on his feathers, showing he didn't get away unscathed, but he's alive and okay, although probably a bit rattled. Hopefully, after such a close call, Jeff will think twice before challenging a tawny owl again. This video is a reminder of how protective animals can be, especially when it comes to their young. Through this encounter, we get a glimpse into the fierce yet natural world of birds. It's fascinating to watch how different species interact, especially when one has to defend its young. Luna's response isn't about being aggressive, but about protecting her eggs. As for Jeff, his curiosity, or maybe inexperience, put him in a tricky situation. He might have been interested in Luna's nest as a potential spot, or he was simply being a bit too bold. Either way, he learned a valuable lesson about approaching a protective mother owl. Thank you for watching and stay tuned.